Computer. Lights.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to Thursday. So we'll be working today on Bellatrix Rising. I always keep looking up here like, did everything work right? Did we do all the things? Are all the buttons working? So we'll be working on Bellatrix Rising today, which is good. We're finally into production of comic production. So before we start, time to take the little blue rag of doom. Let's clean our monitor because it's gotten dirty from all of our various things. For those of you who are local, looks like our weather today is going to be a little cooler than yesterday. It's already 22 degrees Celsius, but it will increase as the day goes on. But I feel like, I read somewhere along the line that it's going to be it's going to be cooler today than yesterday, so that's good. It's getting to the oppressively hot stage of summer. Not one of my favorite times of year. So I'll switch over to our monitor now. We are working on the large files for this. So here's what we're going to do. I think it was George visiting, but he wasn't. And George has been sort of tootling around all morning, being him. Okay, I've fixed all of our old pages. Notice that the update isn't there for this, so it's not updating kind of the weirdness of the layer. But this is sort of our first sort of thing. So on the layout sketch, this is the one where we had already done. My mouse is getting stuck, and I don't know if I'm going to do too much. I don't know what it's stuck on. Let's maybe. That's it. There we go. Probably better. You can't read anything over there. No, this isn't it. Something's not right with my mouse. It's in the wrong spot for being useful. That's what I want. Better. Good morning, Brent. How are you this morning? We're going to go into Bellatrix Rising, into the comics, into the vignettes, intro 1. Now, we had already done sort of the intro 1 sort of thing with this, but I'm noticing something very interesting about this. Okay, so this was the original version of this piece. You're working. Gotcha. Yeah, so am I. You can join me. Pull up the coffee. Work with me here. Originally, on this particular page, we had sort of this piece going, which I've had more than one person already tell me it kind of looks like they're opposing each other, like they're mad at each other. The body language is wrong. Not the first time something like this has happened. So we're going to have to go back and redo the body language. I really appreciate how much effort Pepper put into us saving that piece. It's okay. We don't have to save all the pieces. Sometimes we draw a piece and then we say, well, that didn't work. That's not the right one. Whatever. So on the layout sketch page, or layout sketch layer, I'm sorry, the layout sketch layer, I'm going to go on ahead and sort of discuss sort of a layout that I want to kind of have here. Man, spam guys are really getting me these days. So kind of like the idea of having sort of her sitting in a chair like this and kind of her standing here with one hand on the chair, maybe. If we think out the body language ahead of time, one of the problems that I've got whenever I work with the 3D maquettes is that I get kind of tunnel vision. Right, they're watching the stream. You know, it's funny because I keep thinking, everybody's like, oh, I didn't know you were doing something from 9 to 11. And I'm like, I mean, literally, you could see what I'm doing every morning from 9 to 11. You could literally watch what I'm doing. And so I'm like, okay. I've had a number of family members who call me at 10 in the morning and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were working. I'm like, you literally can watch me work. So this body language now tells me almost the opposite of what the other one does. So maybe I'm not as happy with this one either. Because this body language looks kind of like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Like that kind of thing. So let's think about, let's think about this setup. The general concept behind this 12-page section is our hologram is leaving for another assignment. They are buddies, they are friends, but she's shipping out and she's going away and heading off in a different ship and, stuff like that. Whereas we're kind of leaving Chang by herself back at her ship. One of the overriding thoughts that I'm coming up with here is trying to illustrate that people are moving on without Chang. So that's kind of what I'm after on this. I definitely want to have a uniform. So I want them both in uniform, and I don't want Chang to be missing uniform or Chang in her dress down uniform, or they're both in their class A's. But maybe what I want is Chang here, sitting in a chair, like so. And she's looking sort of this way, kind of looking a little back. you know, and then have Jen here. Looking, you know, sad. Me. Right? Maybe not sad. Maybe caring, right? So I think that's what we're going to be heading for on this. And maybe I'll add, you know, like a suitcase of some sort. But putting Chang in the position of which she is just sitting on a chair indicates more that she's stagnant. She's not going anywhere in life. So we're going to put her in a chair right here. Because this is the essence of what we're after. And this is good too because it gives me an area right up here to put a title in. Right? So I think this is the layout that we're looking for. That works. Since this is a cover, it has no boxes. But it does have the number 1. Which we will put in right here. There. Okay. Excellent. So this is page 1. This artwork is not going to be thrown away. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm not going to destroy it. Nothing's going to. But we're going to keep this page here like this. Okay, let's close this. Now we're going to load to page 2 because there's no maquette work yet on page 1, so we're not going to mess with page 1. In fact, the last thing we're going to do today is work on the actual drawing of page 2. But first, we're going to do a couple of pieces, parts, things here. So some shopkeeping, housekeeping stuff. Okay, so we already have maquettes in here for this. So we're going to look at our layout sketch, which is this guy right here. And he actually should say that, and then we'll kill this guy because that guy's really the layout sketch. Okay, the layout sketch indicates 4 frames right here, and the bottom one probably can be brought down or brought across. We'll have to see. But these are all importantly, I made a joke, importantly. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at where would we be with that? That's probably not thick enough. It's also not the right color. But I think 70 is getting closer, maybe 50. So I can see that I wanted panel 1 to roughly be at the quarter mark, right, which is right here. Okay, so we've got that there at this point, and we'll come over here. And we're putting this on the layout sketch side, which we probably ought not to do. And let's go ahead and put it in boxes. The boxes indicate where we're going to actually put the frames on this. Now, here's the thing. There is a trick that we can use that I'm not good at. And so there's a little bit of trepidation here. But we can do formats and boxes. Right? So let's go on ahead and take a look at this. Right? So somehow, and I've forgotten how to do it, this is part of the reason why there's a trepidation to it. There is a way to insert a frame, right? So I'm looking for frame. Ruler, frame. That's not it. We can create a perspective ruler. That sounds like fun. I try not to look things up on Google while we're live because it seems bizarre and stuff, but let's look this up real quick. Clip Studio Paint. Secret to Google Foo. Layer menu, new layer. Frame border. Okay. Layer menu, new layer. Frame border folder. Bork. And this is frame 1. Okay, frame 1 is here. Now it's live. All right. Now I need to figure out how to divide it. We got the divide tool. Oh, hey, look at that. All right. And what will I do? This part here can probably go away now. Okay, 1, 2, 3. What? All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, and then the last one down here is 4. There we go. And it made this guy, which isn't a frame. Now we have 4 frames. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. How do I control the frames? Border pieces. The vertical gutter. A horizontal gutter. We're going to have to learn this someday, either now or later. Okay, so we have create frames. All right, so how do I get control of this is what I'm after. Is it you? Yeah, it's you. Okay, good. So we will do this. All right, now we're in business. Okay. Now we are cooking with Missoula. All right. So each one of these frames, there we go. Look at that. Now we're starting to actually work here. Each one of these frames is its own layer. So we'll be able to do all kinds of stuff with each one of these layers. There we go. And the best part is everything inside here is contained. It's its own layer. And it only works, it only lives inside this square. So let's make sure that they're straight like we want them to be. Or not straight, as the case may be. I feel like these are cattywampus so that we feel a little bit like Lee is not quite awake yet. So I'm going to make these kind of outside the borders. We're going to break the rules just a little bit on this so that it feels weird. I'm going to make them less and less cattywampus as we get down here because she's getting more and more together and with it. Okay? Now, we've already established sort of this layer here as a thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Alt and copy. And then go here. And I'm going to hit paste. And when I do, you'll see it's just inside here, right? I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go to this one and hit paste. Kind of interesting how I did that. We're going to mess it up, but it's interesting how I did that. Okay. I'm going to hit deselect. I'm going to go in here. And I'm going to just grab this picture here, right? So I'm going to bring it down and stuff like this because she's asleep. All right, so we're just going to do this right here. Just enough that we can see that she's asleep. There we go. I'm going to call this one good. And let that go on ahead and do its thing. I'm going to do the same thing down here. We're going to go to this guy. And we're going to resize him. Because we actually want no, not the whole box. We don't want the whole box. That one. No. Resize. And this one, we've got kind of further back. You can kind of see that she's sleeping, or at least attempting to sleep. Right in here. Okay. Now I really want to put her hands in this picture. 2 reasons. 1, it makes for a good chaotic feel. 2, the render is going to be an awesome set of hands. And it makes the picture look cool. So I want to put that in there. So we're going to do this. Then hit OK. Okay. So now we've established sort of these 2 panels, right? Take this guy and delete him. We don't need him anymore. Okay. Frame 1 is an easy frame. It is simply a black layer. Right? Easy peasy. It's not hard. Yeah, I don't blame you, man. Kind of want to sleep too. Wouldn't mind a beer either. I'm just saying. So I'm with you. All right, in here on this panel, new raster layer. We'll do this again. New raster layer. On this layer. On this layer, we're going to put white. And pull it back just a hair. That way we can see what's going on in there. And here will be our art. And do the same here. New raster layer. New raster layer. On this layer, I will put a white block. And the reason I put this white on here is because it makes it easier for me to see what's going on. It makes it easier for me to understand what I'm doing. Without that on there, you're drawing a black line on top of a black line, and you can't tell whether you put the line down or not. So let's go back up here to this panel, into this frame. Okay, we have the maquette in here. And we're going to take the maquette as sort of an idea of where things are. But the truth is she's half awake, right? So I'm not going to trust a lot of what we see on this particular thing. Oh, at this point in time, by the way, we could take away the layout sketch. Okay, so the layout sketch can go away. We'll take a look real quickly at inspirational line or inspirational pictures just to make sure that I've got kind of the same padding going for things here. Make sure that my crow quill is set for the right thing. Looks like it. Looks like it's set pretty similar. Turn off that. And go back up here to this panel. Okay. So let's get in here and we'll just start doing the drawing. Cool thing is it's not going to go past this gutter at all. So there's that. I've got her arm right here. And you can see one of the benefits of using the maquettes is that I can go on ahead and just skip entirely the sketch line side. Boy, I'm just having a rough time with that, aren't I? I've been working on the model for a while. So the answer is to the maquette, I designed her myself. So I did the maps on, it's a DAS model, but I've changed all of the proportions to fit what Chang looks like. So I've made her ears stick out, and I've like flattened her nose and given her the Asian eyes and stuff like that. Then I hand drew the material that is on here, so I can then put landmarks like this on here, and I can do stuff like I've made her eyes look correct so that they look like my eyes instead of them. So even though I'm using a 3D model, the artwork that's wrapped around the model is mine, and there's no model that Daz sells that's Chang. So you can't actually go out and get a Chang model, which I guess should make me feel better. One of my biggest, I don't know if I want to call it self-consciousnesses. I don't even know if that's a word. The things that make me most self-conscious is this one thing. It was about, I want to say 2005, when I realized I could use Poser, pre-pose, and then trace the lines over the character. And that was really useful. And my first thought with that was, oh, I'll learn anatomy and stuff like that. But I did that and then posted to some online forum, which I know this is a major critical error. Nobody should ever do that. And they said, well, that's just a trace. You didn't actually do the artwork. And I was like, ooh, that's probably a good point. As time evolved, though, I would hand draw this, and it takes, let's say, about an hour or an hour and a half for me to take the sketch like everybody does, refine the sketch, bring it in, bring it forward, do all of the things that need to be done to get to inking. Whereas here, I am literally inking right now. And we are, 10 minutes in? And I'm already inking. So we've cut an hour and a half out of drawing this panel by using a 3D model. But that, I feel it is too. And I make sure that every so often I draw without a maquette underneath it to just make sure that I'm still capable and able. But the fact that it drops, literally drops 2 hours out of, or an hour and a half out of each panel, is a major time saver to the point where it's worth it. But it does make me very self-conscious because of that first interaction I had in 2005, where somebody was like, that's not real art, you're tracing. But you're absolutely right. I mean, rotoscoping is a very straightforward method of art. And the truth is, the artwork that comes out of here is always different art. I mean, it's always like, for instance, her eyes are turned to the right, her right, but really she needs to be looking forward this way. So I'm going to be putting in her eyes going straight forward. She's not going to actually be looking forward at all. She's waking up. So, her face is kind of in a different place. But yeah, I mean, it's totally a thing, but it does make me self-conscious. The other thing is Chang has freckles. And the fact that I drew the freckles on the maquette means that when I draw Chang's freckles, I can trace her freckles like this, right? And later on, when you see her many panels down, this freckle pattern will match, which is not something you can see in any other normal cartoon or comic, because people just, dot, 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 and then the next panel, dot, 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 and then the next panel, dot, 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 dot. And so since they're just, they're just sitting there going on this one, then on this one, the freckles effectively just move around the face on a character, whereas on Chang, her freckles will always be in the same place, because I just need to just make sure I just hit the dots wherever the dots are on her face, right? So it is one of those things, and it does bother me a little bit because I'm always afraid that somewhere along the line somebody's going to say he's not a real artist because he just traces, which of course is silly. It's a ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous, right? And I know it. I'm aware, but that doesn't stop me from being self-conscious about it, right? I mean, like, case in point here, her eye isn't even in the same spot, right? There we go. And we're going to actually kind of right. She hates. It's a playground argument. I agree. The internet is a big playground. I think we can all kind of agree on that one. And it's a thing. There is a big stigma with tracing in the artist universe. Tracing is a big no-no. It has a big stigma, which is ridiculous for a lot of reasons. But you know what? We're going to be doing thousands of panels in this comic, thousands of them. So it's a ridiculous thing to take anything that'll get us closer to a finished product. And I agree with you. It is a playground argument. It is infantile and ridiculous. But even well-meaning people don't always do the right thing. My own wife, like, it's been 10 years, 11 years. But even she was like, well, these are great, but you know what? I'd like to see you do them without the maquettes. It's like, even my own wife, she didn't mean anything by that. And what she meant was, don't get reliant on the maquettes because anatomy is critical for artists. And she was saying you don't want to be relying on the maquettes, which she's right. But of course, it led to me going, oh no, maybe I should. It's my own wife. So it isn't a problem. And we have resolved it since then. Because she had clarified later on. She was like, no. What I mean is, make sure you have your anatomy secure. So what I do now to ensure that I have my anatomy is every so often I will draw a picture and not use maquettes just to make sure I can. But this already sets up the shape of her face so that she's instantly recognizable. You know exactly who she is. I don't have to sit here and fight. And you can see that here. I mean, there we've got already. She's clearly looking like Chang. So we've got a good one there. So it makes sense. It makes sense. But it is one of my, like, her hair is like in the way here. And thank you, Ghost Hand. It is definitely a playground argument. No question. Now, here's the question. And that's the answer. I was wondering whether I need to close these up outside of the frame, like so. So that whenever I do that, it just fills in that zone there. There you go. I'm going to use this crow quill to the best of its abilities right here. Right. Make it. There we go. There. And she looks like she's like, I hate people. Yeah. Which is the way she should look. Right. Good. I like this particular panel. Looks solid. She's like me. I hate people. It's still saving. There we go. All right. At this point in time, I'm going to turn off the maquette. We're just going to work on just straightening this up a little. We want to make sure that at no point do I make the lips turn upward, because the upward turn of a lip is going to make her look like she's smiling, and she is not happy about being awake. So at no point do I want her to be smiling. Right? We're even going to have just a little bit of drool. Maybe. No, that makes it look too silly. She's silly, but she's not that silly. Well, no. Maybe I like it. Has a certain Nagel-esque format now, doesn't it? It looks kind of like a Nagel drawing. I love Nagel. Now, for the next panel down, this guy here, I am going to make one eye open. Right? It's amazing how much just a little change in our lips or in the corners of our mouth alters and changes our entire emotion and everything like that. Absolutely. All right. The next panel over is going to be, these two eyes are going to be a different, like this. We want them kind of like this. And the reason we want them like that is because she's confused. So this eye will be open. like so. And this eye will be open only about this much. And this will give her the seriously confused look that we're after here. One eye open more than the other. And since this eye was the eye that was open above, I'm going to go on ahead and open it more down here, implying that this eye is moving faster than this eye and stuff like that. So we're going to come back through here and just give her more of an eyelash. Now, we've had discussions before about epicanthal folds in the fold in the eyelids. For an Asian, that's right here, right? She actually might have a second one when she's kind of, But no matter what happens, the eyes will still be focusing in on us a little, even though this eye isn't open yet. This eye will be kind of doing this number, right? So we're going to kind of have to flatten this eye out a little. Like, you know what I mean? You can kind of see how it's working here. We're getting like, We're going to remember the size of these pupils, right? If we're this close to a character, we have to put in all of the little details of the eye. So we're going to put in all these details. Right? And again, because of the fact that I'm using a maquette, I can make all of her freckles fit exactly where they're supposed to be. Which is funny, because of course when I made this maquette skin, I just went and just dotted lines. But now I'm like, well, this is where I told myself I had to put a freckle, so then I have to follow them. But even though this is pulled out further, you'll see that the pattern of freckles matches, right? So if I take away this, the pattern right here still matches this pattern. And so that gives a certain sense of rightness, which really helps. The biggest problem I've got is that I got all artsy-fartsy about hair, and now I'm going to have to try to match my hair. That's not on the maquette. So that's going to be, a thing. Now, when you get kind of, she's going to be kind of doing this number, right? She's like, ugh. So we're going to kind of press her lip in like this. And give her a little bit of a turn on the lip right over here. Or make her lip kind of go that way. She's not ecstatic about what's happening. She doesn't like mornings to begin with. So I'm going to squish up this side here. This line indicates the top of her lip right through here. This line indicates the bottom of her lip. Asians usually don't have a very defined center point of the lip. It usually just straight across. So this indicates that it's going straight across. It gives us our indicator that she's Asian. It's one of the indicators that we recognize readily. My lips are usually in two lobes. So we've got a lobe here and a lobe here. There's a muscle group right here, and there's a muscle group there. I'm, of course, telling a dentist this, but still, to those who are not a dentist, like, you know all of these things. So yeah. That's going to give her that, right? She's not happy. And if you take that away, you can see she's like, right? It's starting to become a snarl. She's starting to get, she's starting to make that snarly thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stress just a little bit right here on this little depressor, which comes around here. This isn't a muscle group. There's a muscle group here, but this isn't a muscle group. It's just tagged into your skull right there, where this piece of cartilage is right here. So it ends up becoming a nice little dimple when you snarl. You see it. It's all tagged in on the skull. So this group right here kind of moves up a little. She's starting to snarl. I didn't do it right. Okay. And you can tell because it shouldn't bow out. It's going to bow this way. There we go. Just enough to give her the... She's starting to snarl. Yeah. Okay. She does not want to deal with mornings at all. She doesn't want to deal with it. She's not happy. And we have a cheerful, happy person here. The maquette collided with one another here. So I'm going to have to make sure that the skin deflects and goes up and over and then comes back up like that. Right? Because this is where the maquette deflected over the arm. But one of the major benefits of using a maquette is that I can draw a hand that is literally sitting like this. And this is a very ridiculously difficult pose. So it's hard for anybody to do, but it's going to be pretty easy for me because I've got the maquette. There we go. I am totally cheating here because hands are difficult. Right? When I'm trying to do art for art's sake, like, you know, when I do Mermaid or when I do March of Robots or when I do the pummel competitions I used to do back in the days where I would compete online and stuff like that, I would never use a maquette so that I was still using my skills, you know, continuing to use full skills. But in my head, this is storytelling. We're trying to tell a story here. And every 3D model I build, I have manipulated or changed or anything like that. This is a basic DAZ 3D model, obviously, for her. But even it I just bumped my coffee. That just messed up my line. Even with her, I've altered and changed this maquette so much. But when I do other things, like, for example, the kitty wake exists in DAZ for multiple reasons. One, I can just render it straight out. And two, I can now put her and all of the other characters standing in front of the kitty wake or whatever. But I built the kitty wake myself. That model was built in Blender. I did it totally myself, that kind of stuff.
It's time to take a quick break.
Oh, we're up on break. Let's take a look at where she is so far on this one. See, the hand looks cool and definitely looks like she's just like, she does not look happy. Okay, everybody, you know how the plan goes here. Here's the way this works. We gotta find our mouse. And where is it? There's the mouse. Okay, ring camera. For your own good, everybody, let's stand up. Oh, man. And we stretch. And walk around the room a little. And we walk back. We should always look outside for a moment or two. Remember that there's a real world out here. All right. Works. All right. Now, looking at this without the maquette underneath, it does make me think and feel like she needs to actually be, her mouth needs to be open a little. So we're going to do that in a minute. But first, let's make sure that we put in the geometry, because you see, when we take this out, there's nothing that tells us where a neck is. So we're going to have to put in something to indicate a neck. Now, the other thing about this is I'm going to put in toning, which is going to give highlights to everything, because we want to indicate that there is a light source coming from over here somewhere off screen, aimed straight at her. So we're going to have to do that. But we also know that we have a hair that goes like this. Her hair has fallen this way. So it's coming from the part in her head right here, but it's gone this way. That's what's going on up here. And I think I may have made a mistake on that. So I'm going to have to go back and fix that. Because if we didn't have her the part of her hair on the guide, it's right here. So we're going to have to go back to this panel real quick and clear that up, because this panel doesn't have the part going the right way. So we're going to clear that up real quick. We'll just take our Crockwell, come back in here like so. All right, we'll just make it do this. There we go. And I actually feel like we're going to make this even bigger. Now I could change my croco. I'm going to take this technical pen and bring him up in size so that we can start doing some larger groups of black like this if we need to. Lay down a lot more ink if we need to. And we do. So now we're going to move down to our next panel, which is here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to look at this. We're going to realize that we're close here. We need another landmark, though, because her eyebrows aren't in. Now, since she's snarling, when we snarl, we tend to scrunch up our face. So you see my eyebrows go down as I snarl up. So I'm going to move her eyebrows down on this one. Let's get back onto the croak though. Right. So I'm going to take and move her eyebrow to this point here. The outside of the eyebrows stay the same, generally speaking. We only really indicate in like this. And it's like so. And we'll get this stressor mark right here, where it stresses in the skin right there. And it'll stress in across here and stress across the top. It's too close. So. And when I do this, I tend to want to put a line right here to define a little bit of what's going on. And then I'll put this line there. And we'll just clean it up like that. Right? And she's like, right? Her eyebrows are very high up and level. Kind of a trait more along the lines of Korean culture, generally speaking. Make sure we're also still here on Croco. We're going to come out like so. Korean eyebrows, that's part of their their culture going, is that they've trimmed their eyebrows over enough years that it actually has altered the way that a lot of Koreans' eyebrows go. That was a cultural move which affected their eyebrows. Gotta just say, Japan went through a binding phase where they bound their feet. And I think there are literally millions of Japanese women who will agree with me that I am very glad they have gotten rid of that. But Japanese women still think that small mouths are attractive. That cultural thing. It's starting to phase out now, but I mean, like through the 80s, through the 90s, they were still kind of doing you got to go smaller mouths. And it came from putting only lipstick on the center section of your mouth. And it makes your mouth look really, really small. Small mouths were attractive. The problem, of course, is that, people are people. You're going to have mouths that are larger and mouths that are smaller. And you end up with people who feel like that they are inferior because their mouths are too big. And that, of course, is sad. We don't want that. So we're going to take this here. All right. This eye is like the only eye that actually understands or registers that anything's going on. And the other eye is like, no. Not cutting it yet. Actually, let's go this way. From the 10,000 foot view, it needs to be like that. Now, when we take this out, we're getting a personality out of her. Right? And you can see now we have what looks like definitely somebody who's asleep to someone who's I don't like you. You know what I mean? You kind of got that. Welcome to our captain. This is our captain, ladies and gentlemen. Captain, our captain. For what it's worth. She's not maybe the well, that's what we want. We want to show that she's not not Captain Kirk. She's not our our stellar. Which, maybe is approachable. Let's make sure. This is literally the 6th spam risk call this morning. The 6th. And yesterday there was 7 or 8 of them. And I don't even know. I mean, I haven't had any calls that were spam risk recently. But then all of a sudden we're just inundated. And it's like, well, that's weird. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I ended up on a list somewhere. But I mean, I even got one of those, your social security number has been compromised. Type in your social security number. Ones, it was like, wow, I haven't had those in a while. That one's the one that always got me. You're mentioning plastic surgery. The weird plastic surgery that they've got now that deletes the epicantral fold. That one really gets me. Now, I have talked on my show before about how all of us have a thing that we don't like about ourselves. And that we have these things that we want to change in ourselves. And I mean, for me, I wanted brown eyes. My dad had brown eyes, and I thought brown eyes were so cool because my dad was cool, right? Makes total sense. But I got my mom's blue eyes instead. That's fine. But the truth is, there's nothing wrong with blue eyes. It's like they don't look weird. In fact, I think I would look really strange with brown eyes. And then, now at 40, but I'm 40 now, right? I'm 48, and it's a different thought process now. Right. And give her a little bit more hair kind of flipping all over the place and being weird. I'm 48 now, so I'm absolutely comfortable with my eyes, but it is interesting that people all have, and actually it was kind of interesting because I told my dad that just recently, and his response was, "That's funny, I always wanted blue eyes." And so it was kind of like, wait, that's not cool. Okay, we have a pillow right here. So we want to make sure that pillow shows up here. Because she's lying on this pillow. I mean, obviously she's lying on the pillow. She's in bed, but it's still... There we go. Put that pillow in here. Or as my great-grandmother would say, that pillar. That pillar. I was talking to my cousin about that the other day. He and I were talking, and I was like, we were talking about grandmother. Grandmother is what we all called my great-grandmother. She went by grandmother. That was the nature of the beast. So Let's make sure that this snarl looks like a prim and proper snarl. We'll turn up the ends just a little bit here. Lift this quite a bit. Right? We're coming through here. There we go. I loves this picture now, right? I mean, look at that. She's like, this is not a happy person. She is unhappy. Beautiful. Yeah. Now, here is the other thing. I'm talking about my insecurities. This was not on the maquette. I am able to devote more time to the expression, to the look, I'm smelling rain. If you're wondering why I'm giving this weird look, the sun is out. It's very bright outside, but I'm smelling rain. I'm like, how is it raining? I mean, I guess it's still morning, so the sun is at an angle. So there could be a cloud directly above us that's just raining on us apple. And to be frank, we have been in the 30s the whole week, and it has just recently gotten to lower 30s, but for the most part, it's been in the mid to upper 30s here. And so I am all for rain, because if it'll rain, like I said, I've said a number of times, I am completely useless above 30 degrees. We hit 30 degrees and I just want to like crawl in my bed under the air conditioning unit and die. There we go. All right. We're 2 panels in, guys. So you want to read an interesting book? There's a book out there called Beggars in Spain, written by, I can't think of her name, but my wife made me read my wife suggested the book, and it was fascinating. It's all about sleepless, which are the type of people that don't need to sleep. So, Beggars in Spain. It's a really good book. It ended up winning a Nebula and a Hugo for it. And it's deserved. Now, understand that I'm a hard sci-fi reader. I like hard sci-fi. You know, Clark, Philip K. Dick. Those are my sort of Asimov even. Those are my sort of like the things I really enjoy when I really want to read at night and go to sleep, because oddly, that helps me sleep. I know a lot of other people are like, what? You're what? How does that help you sleep? But Beggars in Spain was the most recent one. My wife was like, you've got to read this book. And she gives it to me. And I'm like, Beggars in Spain? That's a weird title. You know, what does that mean? She's like, no. Get past the title. Read it. And it makes total sense. And it all makes complete sense. It's a wonderful book. So I highly recommend it. Okay. Looking over here at my navigator, which is in the upper right-hand corner, it's interesting because I'm worried that my borders are not thick enough on this. The other thing I'm noticing is this hair that's going along her face right here. See where I am in the middle? Going right here gives her face the effect that it's shorter and smaller. So I'm going to have to downplay it a little on this particular side. So we're going to come back in here. We're just going to downplay it a hair. Downplay it. Because I don't want it to define her face, and it's defining her face right here. And I'm actually going to pull it back just a bit. I'm going to go back in with my crow quill and come like this. And now that doesn't define her face as much as it does here, right? But I'm also going to come back in then and on her chin, bring that up a little bit, make that thicker. Make this line consistent. One of the things I say often in our show is the difference of one line can change everything, right? So I'm going to come in here real quick. I want to give her more eyelashes. This eye is on. It's ready to growl at somebody. She's mad. The other eye, not quite here yet. But this eyeball's up and running and glaring. So I'm bouncing up here like this with these lines to indicate that there is a push going on underneath her eyes. And it's coming from here, right? This is where that push is coming from. It's pushing up here, pushing up here. Her entire cheek is in motion. She's snarling. That is not a happy captain. I hate you. I hate you all. I hate you all. I hate you all, she says. In fact, that is literally what the last panel says in this frame on this page, right? And here I'm going to add, because there is light reflection coming from across the room, I'm going to add a little bit of shine, but it's not quite here yet, right? She's not quite awake on this side, but we want to make sure that they're somewhat balanced, okay? Now, you can see we've stressed up her face, which is not what we're doing here. We don't have any stress going in this top panel. We have stress in this panel, and this looks really good. I'm very happy with these two panels. They look solid, right? I don't have the maquettes for the bottom one because I still need to build the dresser that's between them. If you guys remember joining me when I broke this comic down, there is a bed, and then there's a nightstand dresser thing, and then there's the chair, and there's our other character, right, Gem. This picture is beautiful because she looks like she's just like, I hate people, I hate everybody, I hate all of you people. The only thing I don't like about it is I feel like I can't see her neck at all, and that bothers me. So even though underneath here the maquette shows that the neck is here, I'm going to artificially bring the neck in just a little bit like this, so that there is a feel of that neck, because that gives that just a little bit of push right there. You see, and then we can actually kind of do this and put that little bit. There's two large structures that are right here that go in outside direction like this, and they pull your head in either direction, and they keep your head mobile. So I'm going to put that structure in here and stress it, just to add to the right. She snarled. Okay, I'm liking both of these pictures. Here she's asleep, she's drooling. Here she's starting to wake up and she hates people. Right? The other thing we're going to do is go in here and let's go ahead and fill out her eye the right way. Where the eye is angled at this point in time is somewhat up on this picture, which is actually fine. We'll take the eraser tool and we'll give. So in manga, the way that we do eyes indicates a lot of what's going on in the world in her way. And the dots of the eye indicate that that eye is conscious and cognitive and aware. And they'll take the reflection out of an eye to indicate that the character has lost consciousness. This is a trope that is used, an indication trope that manga artists use to indicate that our character has lost consciousness. So I want to be, there we go, we're back. I want to be very careful how much of this we show and how round it is. Because I can give her a little bit, but she's not conscious in this picture. So taking most of it out like that makes her look somewhat semi-conscious, right? Stop going back, go forward. There we go. There. And that's how we make this work. Okay. We've got two pieces in here that are now running. The thing I really like about this is she very much looks like she's not with it. She looks very asleep. She looks uncomfortably asleep. You know, like this is really unpleasant and I hate people. And she's snarling. Oh man. It's days like today where I enjoy my job. Now I need to fix her arm on here. So we're going to go back into that frame. That's this frame here. We're going to fix this a little. Because I need this to kind of cruise over the bones of her arm, like so. Give us a little bit of illustration of where those bones are. Right, like so. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Still too much. So we're going to come back in over here and do that. That's what we did right there. We can pull this back as a shadow, but the truth is the bones of her arm and the shape of her arm need to be here. So we're going to bring this back in like so. There we go. Just like that. All right. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is just straighten out the hands here. This is the palm of her hand on the other side. So there can't be light. And a thin line always indicates light, like a highlight. So it's important that up here, where her hand is, we define it with a dark, thick line. So we're going to come back here. We're just going to whoop, just like so. Whoop. Make sure we get that. Right. So down here, same thing. We want to make sure there's a dark, thick line because we're way down into the palm of her hand. Which, I mean, even if you think about it, her hand being here, you can see light in this section right here, but only because the monitor is lighting it up. If there was no monitor there, you see how dark it gets. So we want to make sure that we indicate that there's depth and darkness in here. That's the sound of 2 General Electric high power engines. So that's a military jet going overhead. Probably Colorado National Guard. Up here near Denver, the National Guard flies F-15s. Down south, they fly F-16s. So that's a single engine jet. And I'm hearing 2 engines. So that must be an F-15. I love large things. Large movie things that move. Things like boats and planes and trains. And every time I go to Europe, I get on all the trains and I ride as many trains as I can. And just because I can, because there's just not a lot of trains here. And I mean, I've ridden all of the trains in Denver. All of the trains are awesome. But yeah, that's one of those things I always hope for someday. Maybe I can get a ride in a F-15 or, a military jet of some sort. One of my regrets in life. I wanted to join the Navy and become a Navy aviator. That didn't work. That's okay. In a way. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And like Big Ben, you can theoretically like get really up there with all the like huge gears. Yeah, man, I'm totally with you on that one. Big clocks are cool. There's something amazing to me as a human. I'm amazed when we humans do something like that. You know what I mean? Like, how did we do this? We're just people on the planet. And sometimes I think there's something about, standing there with a huge, let's say a cruise ship, and it's 20 stories this way. And you're just looking at wall of boat. And, and you think somewhere along the line, some guy took a tree and hollowed out the trunk of the tree and then sat in it and put little paddles, and it just kept growing until it was this monster sitting there. Some guy said, I want to be like a bird, and then kept working on it and working on it and working on it. And now we have a 787, 2 decks worth of wandering. And I've flown on a 787. It was Lufthansa. And I flew a Lufthansa 787 back from Germany. And I took a 777 there. So I got to fly both of the big birds. And, and somewhere along the line. And that's just what's so amazing about human beings to me. It always amazes me. But clocks are the same thing, right? Somewhere along the line, we had sundials. And they just said, yeah, this doesn't work when we're on a boat in the ocean. So somebody said, well, let's figure it out. And they did. And then they were like, this works so well, we're going to make a very big one and stick it in town square. So, I'm with you 100%, my friend. I am totally with you. Something wonderful about clocks. People amaze me. We are just an incredibly interesting thing. Just being us. And we invent all these cultures, and we invent all of these different, thought processes and concepts and designs, and we're just really amazing. I will never stop being fascinated by our machines or who we are. I think both of those things are just incredible. Okay, looking at the pillow, let's look at what's going on here. Her skull is right here. So there's really a pillow here somewhere. So we're going to have to fix that. Right? Because there's a pillow here. And that means I'm going to have to be careful right here. People. And their machines. They're magnificent machines. There's that song. Those magnificent men and their flying machines. They go up to the up. They go down to down. That's the other thing. People have sacrificed their lives trying to figure out how to make these things work. And other people had to pick up and carry on. And that also gets me. Pour one out for the inventor of all of these things. And yeah, we've created some horrible things. And I've been to, and we've talked about this before, I've been to Hiroshima, and I've been to the Hiroshima Museum. And as an American, it's a little difficult to swallow. But on the same token, so by the way, the hair is going to deflect like so. On the same token, nuclear power has done amazing things for electricity. It's had its problems. We all can say Chernobyl, and we can say Fukushima. We can talk about 3 Mile Island. But people know that that's dangerous, so they're working on better versions. And now we have thorium reactors, which are coming up online. And those are better. And we will keep getting better and better. And people are striving for fusion reactors instead of fission reactors. And, things like that. It just amazes me, and it's cool. Not necessarily nuclear in general, or in specific, but just things like that in general. We're an amazing people. There we go. Look at that. I have a pillow going this way. I should probably put that seam in it so that it still looks like the pillow. Kind of do this number. There we go. This picture, this one frame, is making me chuckle more than anything else. All right. Now I need to look at our frame controls here, because I'm not sure I'm not sure how we've got this set. Right. So I want to get my frame controls, tool navigation, cut, no, control, no, adjust line width. Oh, that's right. We can do, no, that's not what we want. But it is cool. We need to change the border width on this frame, on all the frames. I like how it changes from a dark purple to a light purple to indicate that we're on the frame layer or we're actually on the art layer. All of that is cool. But on the frame layer, this is where you can take your controller here and we can move the frame itself. So if we want a slight bit more chaos going on here, we can always have it, right? And that's really nice, being able to kind of squish them together, or we can pull them apart, or we can move them out of line like so. And that's good. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we will. Maybe I should do that. Well, maybe you should. Move this guy kind of over like so, like this. Just give some, she's not awake. She doesn't like the world. She hates people. We'll go ahead and just move the frames over. There we go. So we're giving a lot more chaos to these three frames. It's a lot more chaotic, although I am seeing now one thing that bothers me. I see a converging tangent here. These two panels now converge, and I don't want them to converge, so we're going to have to go back and mess with them. As much as I would love to have this panel that might be a better version of it. There we go. Now, one of the things I do like is I can see up here in my navigator where things look in general, but I get actually a better view looking at my monitor, which is showing me what's going on the show by looking up there. So I can see where these panels lie. And that's nice. So there we go. Okay. I'm calling this page temporarily good until I put in the rest of the scene 3D models, which are going to have to come in shortly, and that won't be a big problem, but I'll have them. I'll probably work on them today so that they should be in by tomorrow. But we're going to need some important pieces. We're going to need the bed. We're going to need the dresser, and we're going to need a wall of some sort. And then we need to put a pitcher of water on the dresser. And, there's things that we've got to do because she gets water. She wakes up and she drinks water. It's business. So we're going to have to go through that process. But we're going to call page 2 done for the moment. And we're going to move to page 3. And all we're going to do with page 3 is prep it. Right? Page 2 is coming along. So let's take a look at page 3. Page 3 has 3 panels on it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start putting in panel locks for this. what was it? It was layer. Crap. New layer. Frame border folder. Okay. Here we go. We'll take our border line, unlock it, be in this layer. And it's telling me I can't do nothing. Why is it telling me that? We just made it work. Divide frame border. Divide frame border. Shape of division. Vertical gutters. Okay, why are we not able to do it this time? We were able to do it before. Maybe we have made a mistake here. So let's see. Can I draw the border now using this border? No, I can't. Okay. One more time from the top. Maybe I just messed it up somehow. New layer, frame border layer. Okay. Divide, no. Unlock it so that I can divide it, no. Come back here, divide it, no. Okay. We were doing good. All right, create frames. I like this create frame function, but I have a red circle. I'm not sure what the red circle means. Showing all layers, enable mask. It's locked, unlocked. We're having a control problem, gentlemen. What step did I miss? Let's go back to Google. Okay. We're bringing up the instruction manual. Okay. So, layer frame border menu to show the new frame dialog box. So, layer, new layer, frame border folder. Line width, I don't know. No, yeah, I don't know. Oh my God. Here. All right. We have created it. Oh, now that, okay. Tell me how that made some sense. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. We've got 3 panels, so I'm just going to break this into 3. And then I'm just going to move the damn panels around because that's fine by me. I don't really care. So let's take this guy right up here and we had a control point. It doesn't work now. We had control over it before. And now we don't. That's so weird. Okay. I don't get it. I can control it this way, but I can't control it this way. And why don't I have control over? I don't get it. This is the reason why I don't use this that often, is because I've got a lot of, no, you can't use these tools, and I don't know why. And it worked. I mean, it literally just worked in the other page, but it doesn't work here. And it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I don't understand how this works. Let's just put distort on here, because I mean, we can definitely do distort on here, but the problem with distort in clip is that it's not XY mobile usually. See how I'm kind of having to move it? I have to move it up X and then over Y, or along its line axis here. All right. So I don't know why we're going to move this here. This panel is not straight because she's shocked. She sits up and she's alarmed. Okay, so this panel then, we'll do the same thing over here. Distort. And this panel, I'm going to go on ahead and extend it to bleed. And that's, I'm going to just go on ahead and roll it right off the page, but only down there. Right. So this panel is going to be a big panel, a lot of stuff going on. And then this panel, yeah, see, this is really weird. It shouldn't be this hard. There is an easier way to do this. I'm unfamiliar with clip. We're going to bring this down just a little so there's no converging tangents. I'm even sensitive to converging tangents on my frames. I don't like converging tangents. It makes for confusing boxes and people don't understand what's going on, and I don't get it. Now again, none of the pre-poses are ready in this one yet, but they will be. They will be soon. So for page 3, we're going to call this one good. Page 2 had its page marker there. So page 3 is going to have a page marker here. Artwork is going to cover both page markers. Now, generally speaking, with manga, you don't always get a page marker on every page. And we can see that when you look at, let's say, Macross, right? We go in here and you can see that we have a page number there, but we don't over here because the art has gone down below it. So it is okay for us to cover part of this with the artwork. So we're going to. The one thing, though, that I want to do is make sure that everything is layered properly here. The backmost layer is this one. The frontmost layer is going to be this one, right? With this one being a middle layer. So this backmost layer is going to be here. This one's an inset, and then this one is on top of everybody else. Okay? So when we do that, and you'll see it easier if we can put in a new raster layer on this one and then do something with white, like, not actually hit it with a white marker or whatever. Go. What the heck is going on? No controls are working. What setting is set that says that we can't do work? That's the thing I don't understand. There is a setting somewhere. It says that we can't operate on this layer. And I'm not sure what's happening. But something has set saying that we can't edit the layers. And I'm not, this is one of the things that bothers me because I know that someone who's familiar with Clip Studio Paint will look at this and go, well, you set your burble bap to beep, and that's why everything's wrong. And that's obvious. Everybody knows that. And I'll be like, everybody but me. I didn't know that. So there's that. Anyway, we weren't here to edit. We were here to put in panels. So put in frames. Wonder if we can use the comic frame bordering tool. Well, let's go ahead and close page 3 and move to page 4. If anybody is wondering how complicated it is to make a comic, here we go. To be fair, I'm having a hard time remembering all of my controls. So, it's a thing. Okay. We're on this one. There is a frame building tool. I'm going to see what I can do about building a frame. I can't. Rectangle frame. Nothing. Okay. Select the frame border tool from the tool palette. Okay. Select the rectangle frame subtool from create frame on the subtool palette. Okay. Set comic frames for drawing from the tool property palette. Tool property would set comic frames for drawing from the tool property palette. Still don't have a tool. and something is obviously locked. And it is one of those, well, obviously you have clicked the X button and now you can't make subframes. And what's so weird is we were doing it and now we're not. I don't get it. Layer. New layer. Frame border. And now we're back to, no. Why is it X'd out by default? And it doesn't change anything. This is a remarkably frustrating thing. By default, you can't do it. And that seems like a problem. Like by default, it doesn't set up. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Because like now I'm like, well, okay. So panel 1, frame 1 is U. And I should be able to move its control points, but we can't. So instead I'm back to using this set for distort. You know what I mean? It's like, this is so weird. Then down, then over, down, then over, then down, or over, then down. You know, it's like, I feel like I'm sort of not having the control that I want over this. Or this is probably something that I'm going to end up having a YouTube video-a-thon. I'm going to have to watch YouTube, figure out. I'm going to have to watch YouTube, figure out how to do this. Okay. Scale and distort. Is there a free transform? There is. Free transform. That's what I want. Because this is this. There. Okay. I'm going to go here. We'll do the same thing. And we'll say free transform. All right. There. This is her having a moment. Hey, you can't do that. We got to do this other thing. And we already did that. And, oh, I didn't. I don't remember. So she's having issues with this. This one. Free transform. And this guy needs to be like here. And here. And I'll make this panel as wide as the paper. And at some point in time, we're going to have to go in here and get rid of this one's boxes, or the paneling above it. Because it's going to go as wide as the paper. Free transform. This one, because it actually does do the things it's supposed to do. is going to go here to here. And this panel is going to be an insert panel. So we need to figure out how to control some of these things, because this guy really needs to be at the back of the list. Yeah, it's a subpanel of this. I don't want it to be a subpanel. There we go. Right, and then this guy needs to be here. We're subpaneling. There we go. And the reason is because these two panels are on top of all other panels. Because they're weird and strange, they're off shape. Okay? So we are out of time for the day. I'm going to go on ahead and go watch some YouTube videos, because I guess that's what I got to do. So let's hope we can get working on this one. Once we get rolling on this, it's the same scene through the whole thing. So we're going to be able to do quick renders out of DAZ Studio, because it's the same scene. We're just going to take one character to the other character, and then wide shots, and then over the shoulder. You know, we'll kind of follow the guide here on these pages. Once that happens, it's going to be quick. I try to do all the tough pieces at once. So like all of the frames and stuff like that at once. So we'll see what happens in this one. I guess I'll just go watch some YouTube videos and see what trouble I can get into. So, Ghost Hand, it's good to see you. Brent, it was good to see you as well. I'll see you all tomorrow for artist check-in. Hopefully, I'll actually have some pages to show. We'll have to see. Anyway, I will talk to everyone tomorrow, and I will see you. And until then, remember to keep your eyes on the stars, my friends. Bye-bye. Computer, good night.